This is one video in a series of many about creating basic block letters and using wavy lines to make them a little bit more interesting. So I started out by writing the letter W very large on the page with a yellow marker, and I'm tracing around the outside with a black Sharpie flip chart marker. So that's the basic block letter. So you can stop there if that's all you want. But I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting, give it a little bit more style and personality, create a sense of movement by adding some wavy lines. So you can see on the left edge of the W, I drew a wavy line on the outside of that W, the side of the W, and using a little bit of a pattern here. I don't always do that. If you've been watching the other videos, you know, sometimes they're random, sometimes they're inside, sometimes they're outside. You can do all kinds of things with the wavy lines and the block letters. But for this one, I'm sticking with kind of a big, small kind of pattern, and we'll see how far I get with that. Sometimes when you're drawing like this, you have an idea and then you start to do it and you realize, oh, that's not what I wanted at all. And that's part of the fun. And then you can figure out how you want to change it to make it more like what you had in mind, or, you know, so you like it better. So as you can see, I'm coloring some of those little bumps in along the way. I started doing that, and then now I'm just drawing one line. I just kept going. There's no right or wrong way to do this. The only thing you want to be careful of is that you don't leave your marker just, you know, hanging around on the page there, because if you do leave the point of the marker on the page, it starts to soak up the ink. And if you're using water-based markers, that can be quite a problem. You end up with like a big blob, and if you leave it even longer than that, you'll end up with a hole in the page, and it's a mess. So just be careful of that. So now you can see I'm going back and I'm coloring in more of those bumps, so they're a little bit blacker. And you can see how that's changing the look of the letter. If you want to create kind of a lacy effect around the edge of a letter or inside the letter, either one, then you can just leave kind of that wavy line or scallops or half circles, bumps. Just, you know, don't color them in, or you can color them a lighter color so there's not so much contrast. If you're creating letters to be read from a distance, like I've mentioned in every single video in this series, if you are creating letters to be read from a distance, it's really important that those letters are dark and you know, they're big and bold and strong and dark. And going around the outside of a big block letter is a very quick and easy and efficient way to create that effect without coloring in the entire letter, which often is not practical at all. It takes a lot of time and a lot of ink, and it can be a messy and kind of tiring if you're drawing very large scale. You can imagine if you had a long word with letters of this size, it's quite time consuming. So this is a quick and simple way around that. And it's also much more creative too. And it gives you a lot of wiggle room for fun and for play, and to make your letters even stronger, and to help the message, you know, visually get the message across too. So now I'm adding some dots around the outside. I put some lines on the inside. I had some smudges to cover up. That's a part of it, figuring out what you're going to do with the smudges, because as I mentioned, water-based markers can smudge quite easily. So you want to, don't let that scare you. Just turn it into something fun and creative. Again, that's really what this is about. It's using whatever ends up on the page and having some fun with it. So now I'm creating like some action lines, or I call them sparkly marks, to make the letter just a little bit more, give it a little bit more life, a little bit more movement. It's also a great way to cover up some smudges too, or to divert your eye away from smudges. So there you go with a capital W. As you can see, my wavy edge on this one, I alternated some inside, some outside, and don't be afraid to embellish outside of the letter as well, with some other interesting patterns or dots or lines. So there you go. Hopefully that gives you some inspiration and some information to go create some fun letters of your own.